This is the largest animal that walks the earth, and it is completely at the mercy of creatures small enough to sit in your hand. To see why, we begin at first light, when the great bull wakes alone at the edge of the herd, his thick hide already crawling with the night's tormentors. To see why, we begin at first light, when the great bull wakes alone at the edge of the herd, his thick hide already crawling with the night's tormentors. To see why, we begin at first light, when the great bull wakes alone at the edge of the herd, his thick hide already crawling with the night's tormentors. To see why, we begin at first light, when the great bull wakes alone at the edge of the herd, his thick hide already crawling with the night's tormentors. And within seconds, the work begins. Tiny beaks move across his skin, hunting the parasites, and the most powerful animal in Africa lets them do exactly as they please. Watch how the two kinds of birds divide the work between them. The white egrets prefer the broad open skin of his back and flanks. Snapping up the insects, his movement stirs into the air. The smaller brown oxpeckers dig deeper, working into the folds and creases, pulling out the ticks buried where nothing else can reach. Together they leave almost nothing behind. For the birds, this giant is the richest feeding ground on the entire savanna. A single elephant can carry thousands of insects and ticks across his vast body. Where a smaller animal offers a mouthful, he offers a feast that can last all morning, delivered on a warm, slow-moving platform that walks them straight to their next meal. But the elephant gets far more from this deal than a clean hide. High on his back, the birds have a view he could never have himself. Their sharp eyes scan the horizon constantly, and at the first hint of danger, they will erupt into the air in a burst of white, an alarm the elephant has learned to read perfectly. But the elephant gets far more from this deal than a clean hide. High on his back, the birds have a view he could never have himself. Their sharp eyes scan the horizon constantly, and at the first hint of danger, they will erupt into the air in a burst of white, an alarm the elephant has learned to read perfectly. But the elephant is not alone, and he is not blind. A bird on his back sees the grass move where it should be still. In an instant, the whole flock explodes upward in a burst of white wings and shrill alarm calls. The signal is unmistakable. Danger, close, now. The warning gives him the fraction of a second he needs. He wheels around to face the grass, spreads his enormous ears to look even larger, and lets out a trumpeting blast that shakes the air. He is no longer an easy target drifting alone. He is a wall of muscle and ivory, facing his attackers head-on. It is enough. A healthy, alert, full-grown bull facing them directly is far too dangerous a target. One kick, one swing of that trunk could kill a lioness outright. The pride breaks off. One by one they melt back into the grass and slip away, their ambush ruined by a handful of birds no bigger than a fist. The danger passes, and slowly the birds return. They circle once, twice, then settle back down onto his broad back, as if nothing had happened. The little sentinels have done their job, and the giant, who might not have survived the morning without them, goes calmly back to his breakfast. As the sun climbs and the heat builds, the great bull leads the way to water, and here the cleaning enters its final and most powerful stage, not with beaks this time, but with mud. Thick and cool, the elephant's oldest and most trusted defense against everything that bites. The mud does what nothing else can. As it dries, it forms a thick protective crust across his entire body, smothering any parasites the birds missed and blocking the flies from his skin for hours to come. It is sunscreen, insect repellent, and armor, all mixed together from the earth of the waterhole. Clean, cooled, and protected, the great bull turns back toward the herd. And as he walks, the white birds lift from the waterhole and fall into formation around him once again, riding the giant back across the plain. Their partnership does not end at the water. It simply moves with him wherever he goes. As the long day fades and the sun sinks low, the herd settles to rest. The birds make their last passes across his skin, taking the final insects of the day. And the great bull, cleaner and safer than he woke, stands guard over his family as the African night begins to fall. It is easy to look at an elephant and see only power, the largest, the strongest, the most unstoppable animal on land, but even he cannot survive on strength alone. He depends, every single day, on partners small enough to ride in the folds of his ear, to warn him, to clean him, to keep the smallest enemies from slowly wearing him down. All across this savanna, the same quiet truth is playing out. The buffalo and its birds, the rhino and its tick-eaters, the zebra, the giraffe, the antelope, each with their own small partners riding along. None of these giants rules the plain alone. Every one of them survives through an alliance with something far smaller than itself. We tell ourselves that nature rewards the biggest and the strongest, but the real story of survival is written much smaller than that. It is written in the trust between a 2-ton giant and a bird that weighs almost nothing, in a killer that lets its cleaner walk away unharmed, in creatures so different they should never meet, choosing again and again
as darkness
to help
falls
each
across
other
the
live.
land, another chapter of life concludes.
Tomorrow at first light, it will all begin again. The parasites will return in the night. The great bull will wake and shift and wait, and out of the dawn sky, on small white wings, his partners will come back to him, exactly as they always have, exactly as they always will. The mightiest animal on earth owes its life, in part, to birds you could hold in one hand. That is not weakness. It is the real secret of survival in the wild. If stories like this leave you seeing nature differently, subscribe to Nature's Cleaners. Because behind every giant, there is always a smaller partner, and their stories are only just beginning. Back among the herd, the great bull is not the only one being cleaned. Nearby, a young calf, only a few months old, stands close to its mother, and on its small back sit just 2 little birds, the calf's very first cleaning crew, already learning the ancient partnership that will protect this youngster for the rest of its long life. The calf watches the old bull, sees the birds moving freely across his enormous body, sees how completely he trusts them. This is how the knowledge passes down through the herd, not through instinct alone, but by watching the elders. One day this calf will be a giant too, and these same small partners will still be riding on its back. As the afternoon cools, the whole herd moves to the river to drink, and the birds move with them, flitting from one grey back to another, a shifting cloud of white against the great grey bodies. At the water's edge, the elephants gather, and for a while, the entire herd and their tiny partners share the same peaceful stretch of shoreline. As the afternoon cools, the whole herd moves to the river to drink, and the birds move with them, flitting from one grey back to another, a shifting cloud of white against the great grey bodies. At the water's edge, the elephants gather, and for a while, the entire herd and their tiny partners share the same peaceful stretch of shoreline. But even at the peaceful water's edge, the birds never fully rest. As the light begins to fade, a pair of them suddenly lift their heads, staring toward the reeds downriver, where a shape moves in the shadows, a crocodile watching the young calf. And once again, the small sentinels sound the alarm before the danger can strike. crocodile vanishes beneath the surface, its ambush foiled once again. The old bull stands guard until the calf and its mother move safely back from the water. Twice in a single day, the smallest members of the herd have saved one of its members from death, and not one of the elephants will ever fully understand just how much they owe those little birds.